According to the World Health Organization, there are currently over 50 COVID-19 vaccines around the world. Some have already been rolled out, others are in different stages of development. India in specific is currently conducting phase 3 human trials of Covaxin, which is an indigenous vaccine developed by Bharat Biotech. I spoke to Dr. Gifty Immanuel, who is an infectious diseases specialist, about which vaccine is best suited for the country and what India should be doing differently to handle the pandemic. Dr. Immanuel, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. It's really kind of you. So the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the Oxford-AstraZeneca vaccine, and Moderna are some of the international vaccines that are being met with a lot of enthusiasm. If I may ask you, what are the indigenous vaccines that are being developed in India, and what are your thoughts about them?
Nishan, that's a good question. In fact, India is the factory or the house which manufactures the maximum number of vaccines in the world. Roughly, I would say around 10 vaccines so far. We have been taking a kind of collaborative approach. We collaborate with many universities all around the world and biotech companies. And India has a large production facility. We have facilities which can cater around 1 billion vaccines turn around in a very short span of time. And it's very hard to produce these vaccines anywhere else with such quality and such price at such a price so that it can be re-exported and sent to the other parts of the world. For example, Serum Institute in India has collaborated with Oxford University. They're also collaborating with a Maryland-based biotech company called as Novavax. And other than that, we have Biological E. We have Bharat Biotech, which is making India's own very own COVID vaccine. So we have different types of vaccines. For example, it'd be better if I classify according to the platforms which are being used. First is the adenoviral platform, for which we have the Russian vaccine, which is called Sputnik 5, which is based on an adenoviral 5 system. So these are all vectored vaccine. Next is the Oxford vaccine, which is based on chimp adenovirus. And there are a few more vaccines which are based on adenovirus. So these are all adenoviral vaccines. And the next is the mRNA vaccines. Both the mRNA vaccines are American vaccines. One is by the Moderna, and another is by Pfizer BioNTech, which you mentioned. These two are relatively modern technologies. We have never had a mRNA vaccine before, although it has been tried for cytomegalovirus and influenza without much of output. This is the first time we are using it for a larger pandemic. However, the adenoviral system was very much tried for the Ebola virus, but it was not very successful with the Ebola virus outbreak. And then we have the subunit vaccines. Subunit vaccines are more or less time-tested vaccines. For example, the Novavax vaccine bases itself on a protein from the virus, which is the spike protein. It is harvested using cell line culture, and then it is given as a vaccine with an adjuvant. So this is very similar to hepatitis B vaccine, which we have a very large expertise and experience with. And then there are rabies virus vectored vaccine. There is also a DNA vaccine by one of the India's leading biotech companies. So we have different platforms of vaccines. So adenovirus, mRNA, then DNA-based vaccines, and subunit vaccines. So nearly 10 candidate vaccines are at the foray. They are in the forefront, and there are different trial phases. Some are at a level 3 or a phase 3 trials, and some are at phase 2. Eventually, India will have a huge plethora of vaccines to choose from.
Doctor, as an expert on infectious diseases, what would you say the importance of having an indigenous vaccine is, as opposed to just rolling out an international vaccine, which is already rolled out in other countries?
Right, that's a very nice question. To begin with, science nowadays has become more of a collaborative effort than a national effort. So when you look at a vaccine, it has got several components which needs to be tested in different countries. So it's a kind of a collaborative umbrella event where we have different countries and different scientists. As they say, scientists have no borders. Science itself doesn't have any borders. So I look at it in a very broad-based spectrum wherein vaccine comes from, the template comes from one country, there is a very close tie between academia and industry. In the academic circle or the scholarship circles, they discover a vaccine, they create the template, then the industry takes over and produces large scale. And India in particular has a huge manufacturing capability, which fulfills all the international standards for vaccine manufacturing. We have been exporting a lot of vaccines to sub-Saharan Africa. We've been exporting to Middle East and Russian countries. So it is, in a way, these templates which are made in private biotech startups are happening even in India, for example, Genome Valley in Hyderabad, where most of these vaccine houses are there. And Covaxin is largely an indigenous effort in collaboration between Bharat Biotech, one of the leading biotech firms in India, the National Institute of Virology, and the Indian Council of Medical Research. And it is largely an indigenous effort. Along with, we are open to other types of vaccines also.
Doctor, in your personal opinion, as you said, we have several choices of vaccines that can be administered. Or which do you consider most effective, and which do you think will be the first to begin mass rollout in India?
I think our very own Covaxin, or manufactured by Bharat Biotech, is the mainstream vaccine for us. However, we have also collaborated with Oxford's vaccine, adenoviral, chimp adenoviral vaccine. Sputnik is on the offer, and Novavax is also being tried in India as Covavax. And so we have a large number of opportunities, and even there is a possibility of opening up for Pfizer BioNTech's mRNA vaccine. Talks are going on. Everybody has given a letter of interest, and collaborative processes are happening. Eventually, as the vaccine starts rolling out, I presume that we will have at least 8 to 10 vaccines to begin with against COVID. All of them are going to be equally effective. The choice of vaccine largely depends on many factors. One is the price factor, and the second is the platform of your choice. What is the platform you would like to use? And thirdly is the reactivity and other things, which we'll know only with time, which vaccine is going to be reactive and other things.
Doctor, compared to countries like the United Kingdom and the United States, what do you think India should be doing differently in terms of handling the pandemic and also the vaccine development process?
I think we have focused a lot on the vaccine development process. We have created the infrastructure and we have nurtured it over the years with different types of vaccines. So the process was already there. That is why when a new vaccine comes out, we are ready to take it up. Recently, there was a visit by officials from EU and other countries to vaccine manufacturing facilities in India, just to see if they are up to the FDA and other standards. So India was already prepared for these kind of events because we are a tropical country and our disease burden is much higher than many countries. So we have a huge population to begin with, to cater to. And that is the reason we have already been geared up for such maneuvers, such large-scale procedures, and there has been support from all sections of the administration, from the government to the local bodies. So it's a very concerted effort, and there is a huge possibility in the future that we could be manufacturing even more vaccines, because now they are in a trial phase with most vaccines. Once the formula, the template becomes ideal, then it is India which is going to manufacture it in a large scale and redistribute it to other countries, because it will be much cheaper to do these vaccines in India than elsewhere, because cost effectiveness is a major criteria in a pandemic when you are serving huge populations, and many of them will not have insurance coverage, even in the global West, in the global North rather. It's very highly likely that many of the subsets of population will not have a vaccine coverage. They'll not be working in institutions where a vaccination will be given by the institution. So these kind of pockets can lie everywhere in the world. And if we have to address this particular gray areas, we need a vaccine which is very affordable in a large scale, in thousands and millions. And also to remember that this vaccination has to be done.
While the vaccine development process across the world is an evolving situation, experts believe that if you have the opportunity to take the vaccine, you should. This is Nishan Chilkuri in London for India Thinks.